Echols Unlimited podcast. I am your host, Terrence Echols, and today is September 10th, 2019. It is about 11:45 in the morning, and I'm just going to get right into it today. We have a few things to talk about with the FIBA World Cup still going on. It's in full swing now, and as we also have an NBA fashion roll that just happened, and I just want to give my brief thoughts about that. So, first things first, the FIBA World Cup, the 32 teams. It's the largest World Cup they've ever had. There are 8 left, and as of this morning, there are now 6 left actually, with a couple of losses that just happened, and we're gonna get into that soon. But in the quarterfinals, we had the matchup of Argentina versus Serbia. We have the United States versus France. We have Spain versus Poland. And then we have Australia versus the Czech Republic. So those are the 8 teams remaining. I'm going to talk about each team, but I just wanted to note that this morning, since I've written down all these notes and everything since that happened, the team from Argentina defeated Serbia 97-87. So Argentina will be going on to the semifinals, as is Spain, who defeated Poland 90-78 this morning as well. So we have those 2 teams moving on. I'm just going to give my thoughts on the 8 teams that are remaining technically in these quarterfinals, and we're going to get right into it with Serbia, who was 4-1 at the time of my notes, but they are now 4-2 as of this morning. Their 2 losses are both to Spain, and Serbia's been one of the more entertaining teams I've seen. They've been one of the more talented teams, I want to say, in this World Cup so far. So I've enjoyed watching them. I think they have some great players coming out of that country. I think they have a lot of elite NBA talent that they can rely on, and look forward to bringing in more guys like that with the development of the game and how the game is becoming more global each and every day, especially with the rising star in Nikola Jokic that they have. He was an MVP candidate this year. He's going to be one of the best big men in the NBA in the future years. I think, in my opinion, he's a top 15 player. He's a top 2 center in the NBA, right behind Joel Embiid. So I definitely like his game. He's a walking triple-double, great rebounder, great passer. And he can score too. He can shoot the 3. He can score from the mid-range, and he can also post up, back you down, and take you to the rim with his big body and his good footwork. So definitely like him. He's had a pretty pedestrian World Cup for someone of his talent and someone of his stature. He's averaged 12 points, 6.5 rebounds, and 4 assists, which are good numbers, especially in a European system, but you wouldn't expect him to be putting up such, run-of-the-mill numbers, sort of mid-level player numbers. But you also have to take into account that it is the World Cup. They're trying to play certain players. They're trying to play team basketball, and also he's trying to preserve himself for the upcoming NBA season, which is going to be difficult. We all know that they have a very good chance to compete this year. The Denver Nuggets do, with guys like Gary Harris and Jamal Murray in the backcourt, with Jokic up front, of course, and then the possible ascension of the 2 young guys who have been injured, in Bol and Michael Porter Jr. Those are guys who are highly touted coming out of high school, faced some injury concerns in college, and now they were taken way later than we expected because of their talent-wise. They are up there with the elite, the best of the best. They're talented, they're athletic, they're long. It's just the injury concerns that we have. So if the Nuggets training staff is able to get them to close to 100%, not quite 100%, or even if they're able to get them to 100%, I think the Denver Nuggets could be a very dangerous team coming in the future years, especially because the oldest guy they have, in Paul Millsap, he's getting older. He's probably not going to be with them for too much longer. But the fact that everyone else is still young, Jamal Murray, he's very young. Nikola Jokic, he's young. He's like 24. Gary Harris, he's young. He's in like his 4th year in the NBA. And then, like I said, Michael Porter Jr., Bol Bol. They got guys like Will Barton, Torrey Craig, just a bunch of really good players, and I'm very excited for what the Denver Nuggets are going to be able to do. So, Serbia, they also have Bogdan Bogdanovic. He's had a great World Cup. He's put up some great numbers, as well as Boban Marjanovic, who is the fan favorite in Philadelphia. He's now with the Dallas Mavericks, unfortunately, but Boban, he's a great guy. He's 7'3". He's just a monster, physical human specimen. And the fact that they're able to put together some pretty good games, it's good to see. It's good to see those guys who maybe don't get the recognition or the stardom that they deserve in the NBA really be able to go out there and show that they can compete. They are great players. It's just they just get overshadowed by the talent in the NBA. And I'm glad that they are still able to play in the NBA, still able to compete, but they aren't able to be their full selves. We saw Boban throw a no-look pass on the break in one of the games earlier. So the fact that he was able to go out there and do that, something he'd never do in an NBA game, is great to see, and I love to see the full talent of these NBA players. So the next team I'm going to talk about is Argentina, the team that beat Serbia in that matchup this morning. They're 5-0 now, 6-0, and they beat Poland. They don't have any current NBA players. It's crazy. They don't have any NBA players right now. Their best and most notable player is Luis Scola, who is, if you remember, all my NBA fans remember, he was a solid player back for the Houston Rockets back in the early 2010s, playing for Houston, played with Yao Ming and Tracy McGrady and those types of guys. And he's 39 years old now. He plays for the Shanghai Sharks in the CBA, the Chinese Basketball Association. He's 39, and this World Cup, he's put up great numbers, 17.5 points and 8 rebounds. So he, all the power to him. 39-year-old Luis Scola still putting on for Argentina, still leading them, and they have a good chance to make it to this final, depending on where everyone else falls in the bracket. I'm looking forward to this matchup between the United States and France. That's who will play Argentina. So we'll see what happens when they go up against either the United States or France. So the next team I have is Australia. And like I said, their FIBA rank is very disrespectful. Their FIBA rank is number 11 in the world, which is very disrespectful to Australia. Australia is a great country. They put together great basketball teams. They have an outstanding basketball league in the NBL that produces NBA talent almost every year, with new guys going over there to test out the waters and coming back. And right now they have LaMelo Ball and RJ Hampton over in Australia playing in that league. And the fact that they're able to bring the physicality as well as the skill and the size to compete with any other country in the world is great. I love the fact that Australia is able to hold their own in such a global game. They currently have Andrew Bogut, Joe Ingles, Matthew Dellavedova, Aaron Baines, and Patty Mills. Patty Mills has been their leader. He's averaged 22 points and 4 assists for this FIBA World Cup. I like Patty Mills. He's been one of the backbones for the San Antonio Spurs. He's always been consistent coming off the bench or in a starting role at point guard. He's never really been that true star player, but the fact that he's able to do that for Australia and give them the type of confidence and the excitement that they need from their basketball team is great to see. I love to watch Patty Mills play with such energy and effort, and as I do like Matthew Dellavedova, who also plays with a lot of energy and effort, and even Aaron Baines, who's an effort guy. He's playing for the Phoenix Suns currently. So Australia, definitely a team to watch coming into these last few games of the FIBA World Cup. So I'm going to keep an eye out for them. And the next team is very surprising in the Czech Republic. They're currently 3-2. Their FIBA rank is 24th in the world. 24, wow. They only have one NBA player in Thomas Satoransky, and I talked about him in my last podcast when the United States went up against the Czech Republic. The Czech Republic is good. They've got guys who can play. They play classic European basketball, in my opinion. They have great ball movement. Everyone does their job well. They got shooters, and they just play classic physical European basketball, and it's great to see them share the ball, and no one is really greedy or cocky with the ball, and I like to watch Satoransky, do his thing as well. So I really enjoyed watching the Czech Republic play. Let's see what they can do against Australia in this quarterfinal game and see who can match up against Spain in that semifinal. So the next team I have is France. They are currently FIBA ranked number 3 in the world, behind the United States and Spain. France has a lot of talent. Obviously, Tony Parker, he's from France. Like I mentioned him in a previous podcast as well. He's a Hall of Famer. First ballot, definitely. Tony Parker, 4-time champion, NBA Finals MVP. So the fact that France is able to still bring in a lot of really good NBA talent is very telling to their developmental league and their developmental system for their kids coming up and guys growing up in France. So their only losses to Australia, they lost to them by 2. Like I said, Australia is probably one of the better teams in this FIBA World Cup, so that's not much of a surprise. But the fact that they lost by 2 shows that they can compete with the best of them. So France is going to be no slouch for the United States in this matchup they have tomorrow. And so France, they boast NBA talents in Frank Ntilikina, Nick Batum, Evan Fournier, and Rudy Gobert. And Fournier has been their leader offensively. He's averaged 21 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists. So he's definitely been their go-to guy, and I really like his game. He's smooth. He can shoot it, and he can take it to the rim. We'll see what he can do on this year's Orlando Magic team. I'm excited to watch them build on what was already a playoff season in which they won one game against the Toronto Raptors. They beat them in Game 1. And the Raptors ended up winning the NBA championship. So you never know what the Orlando Magic are going to be able to do in the future. So the next team I have is Poland, whose FIBA rank is 25. And they were 4-1 before this morning. Now they're 4-2. They lost to Argentina, and now they have lost to Spain. But Poland, the fact that they made it this far is very good for them. They don't have any NBA players, but it's a true testament to the type of guys that they were able to bring in and the guys who were able to buy in and get some wins for them in this tough tournament. So the next team I have is Spain, obviously number 2 in the world. They have a ton of talent. They have a ton of success at the international level. They've always been up there with the United States competing. And like I said, they have guys like Ricky Rubio, Marc Gasol, Rudy Fernandez, and Will and Juan Hernan Gomez, who are both, all of these guys have NBA experience. Fernandez is the only guy who's not currently in the NBA. He's playing for Real Madrid right now. But the fact that he was in the NBA, he was a solid player for the Portland Trailblazers back in the day. He's not that old. He's only about 34 years old. He could possibly come back to the NBA on maybe like a 1-year deal if a team really needs him. But I think he enjoys playing in Spain. I think he enjoys just being that guy on their international team that is really just able to bring it every year and is able to come back and show, hey guys, I can still play the game at this level. I can still play the game really well, even though I'm not in the NBA. So that's great. We'll see if they're able to get guys in the future, such as Nikola Mirotic, who I believe is Spanish. I'm going to have to double check, but I think Mirotic, the guy who played for the Milwaukee Bucks this past season, he's Spanish, and I think he just decided not to play. He decided to go back to Spain after being a solid NBA player, and NBA teams were going to offer him a lot of money to play for next year, but he chose his happiness, and he just chose to go back home and play in Spain for this year. So you can't knock that at all. Ricky Rubio's been their leader, 15 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists a game. He's just a solid player overall. I think he'll do good things with the Phoenix Suns this year. They finally have a really competent guy at point guard. He's not the star that they needed at point guard, in my opinion, for the Phoenix Suns, but we'll see what he's able to do. In my opinion, he's a perfect number 2 guy who can start. He's kind of like that Patty Mills type of player who can come in and he can give you good production, but you shouldn't expect it from him. You shouldn't rely on him to do that because your team's not going to be that good if you do that. But I definitely like Ricky Rubio. He's a great player. He has great character, great energy, and he's going to be the future of this Spanish basketball team once the Gasol brothers decide to retire. And so now on to Team USA. Team USA is 5-0. They played 4 games since the last time I talked on this podcast, and they won their second game 93-92 against Turkey, which I'll get into later. But oof, that was a game. I'll tell you that much. That was quite the game. USA versus Turkey. They won by 1 point in overtime. There are a few things I want to talk about in a little bit, but they also beat Japan. And my takeaway from that is, well, they won 98-45, so it wasn't that close at all. But my takeaway from that was that Yuta Watanabe is an NBA player for sure. He's graduated from George Washington, played for Memphis this year. He was mostly on the Memphis Hustle this year on their G League affiliate, but he's been averaging 16 points and 6 rebounds for this tournament, and I really like him as a wing forward player who can score off the dribble, who can defend, block shots, and he can also shoot a little bit. So I like his game, I really do. And Rui Hachimura, the Gonzaga star, who was an All-American, all that this past year, he's labeled as the next freak of the NBA. I'm not sure if he's quite there yet. I'm not sure if you can label him as that, but he's Japanese. He's long. He's athletic. He plays really hard, and he's got skills. He can shoot. He can put it on the floor, and he's a good player. He had a really nice dunk against Miles Turner, who, welcome to the NBA. Miles Turner is one of the best shot blockers in the NBA, and he comes down the lane and throws one down on him. So shout out to Rui Hachimura. That was a great job by him. And so then the United States went on to beat Greece 69-53 in a low-scoring game. Giannis Antetokounmpo led Greece with 15 points, 13 rebounds. I think he's just keeping in shape at this point. Honestly, I think Giannis could just go on a crazy tear and try to kill everything in his sights, but I think he's approached this World Cup as the best he possibly can. Just go out there, compete for Greece, and just give a good effort. And honestly, he's not exhausting himself out there. He obviously doesn't want to do that right before training camp and the season starts, especially coming off of his MVP campaign and being on a team like the Milwaukee Bucks that are going to be competing for an NBA championship this year. So I like the fact that he's really, taking it pretty easy. He's still been playing and competing for his home country, so there's nothing you can really say about that. You can't really say anything negative about how he's approached this World Cup. So then the United States went on to defeat Brazil to get them to this quarterfinal, and that was also a pretty good route. They won 89-73. And then they'll play France on Wednesday. So the fact that I think the United States, after that Turkey game, was a real scare. They got into their groove. Jason Tatum got injured in that game. He hurt his ankle. I think he should be all right, though. He's back now. But I definitely like how the United States has been playing these past few games. They've won each game by at least 16 points since the Turkey game. And the fact that they're able to do that, especially against teams like Brazil and Greece, who have NBA players, who have talent, who are notably known for their NBA talent, they're good. It's a good sign. It's a good sign that the United States is able to do that and just continue to dominate. And my one takeaway is that Kemba, even on a deep team, he's still averaging 15 points, 6 rebounds, or 6 assists and 3 rebounds. It's good for the Celtics, honestly. The fact that he's able to play with such talented guys. In Charlotte, he put up insane numbers on a team that didn't really have anyone else who's worth talking about, and he's able to do this with a bunch of impressive guys, guys like Chris Middleton, who's also an all-star in this past year, and guys who are up-and-coming stars such as Donovan Mitchell, Jason Tatum, and Miles Turner on the team as well. So he's able to do that with those guys, and Coach Popovich leading him, who's a very good coach. I know Brad Stevens is a great coach too, so it's a good sign that he's able to take coaching and he's able to go out there and help lead the team to more and more wins each and every day. Miles Turner has also been impressive. He's rebounding the ball very consistently, and he can score when needed. I think he's one of those guys who can take that next step. He's already a great defensive player, and I think he can just take that. If he's able to take that next step into like a all-star role, I think that'll be great for his career. It'll be great for the Pacers, honestly, to match him up with a guy like Victor Oladipo and then Malcolm Brogdon, who's the perfect number 2 or number 3 on a championship caliber team, in my opinion. They're going to be a dangerous team in the future. It was Domantas Sabonis on that team too. He's a great low post scorer. He's a good defender. I'm not sure what else he's going to be able to do. I think he probably needs to add a jump shot to his arsenal to make him really a threat in this day and age, but we'll see what he's able to do. So I just wanted to touch briefly on the Turkey game. It had everything you wanted in a basketball game, the 93-92 victory in overtime. There was competitiveness, there was drama, there was effort, it was physical. You just loved watching the game. Turkey has some good players. They have Cedi Osman, who's the forward wing for the Cleveland Cavaliers. They have Ersan Ilyasova, and they have Furkan Korkmaz, who is a wing guy who was stashed away in Turkey for a couple of years, and then the Philadelphia 76ers finally decided to bring him over. And he's showed glimpses of being a great player. He had 40 points in a summer league game last year, and he's just been a pedestrian player on the end of the bench for the 76ers. He spent time with the Delaware 87s, the Sixers of G League affiliate, but maybe he's able to make that next step after playing with Turkey this year. But Ersan Ilyasova is the true star of this game. He took over. He scored 23 points and had 14 rebounds. The United States went small for a majority of the game. They put Harrison Barnes in at the 5, and Ersan Ilyasova was just taking advantage of it. He was spreading him out. He was taking him in the post. He was getting switched on Kemba and just taking him in the post. And I thought Turkey deserved to win that game, honestly. The United States really, they squeaked away with such an impressive win, honestly. They just came, when it comes down to it, they were able to get the win, and that's great. Jason Tatum had a good shot at the end of regulation where he got fouled on a three-pointer, had a good look to win the game, but he got fouled. Made the first free throw, missed the second free throw, and then made the third free throw to tie the game. And that's what sent it to overtime. And in overtime, United States, they were down at first, and then they came back. They were able to just take over and take advantage of Turkey, who made some poor mistakes. They missed 4 free throws at the end of the game. Joe Harris got an unsportsmanlike foul. I don't really get it. It was sort of like the intentional foul that you see all the time in the NBA that teams do, but they called it unsportsmanlike, which gave the team from Turkey 2 shots and the ball, and they missed the shots, which is crazy. So, I'm glad USA needed a win like that. Obviously, adversity hits, and you got to see who your real dogs are, who your real stars are. So I'm proud of them. I'm impressed. And I just hope that they're able to pull out the rest of this tournament. So we'll see what happens going into the next round. So to end this podcast, I just want to talk a little bit about the new NBA fashion rule. So Woj reported the other day that the NBA has banned these ninja-style headbands for the 2019-2020 season. Guys like De'Aaron Fox, Mike Scott, Drew Holiday, Jimmy Butler, Mo Harkless, Jared Allen, a bunch of guys wore those headbands. They made it popular this year. It's a pretty cool style headband. If you haven't seen it, it's like a long piece of cloth that a player would tie around his head and knot in the back, and it would hang a little. The strings at the end would hang a little over his head, and they're more lightweight than the current sort of headbands that the NBA has, and they are, I don't know, I think they look cool. They're fashionable. They go really well with the current NBA hairstyles with guys who wear like the sponged hair with the curls at the top and the dreads. They look really cool with Drew Holiday and his curls, and I don't have any problem with it. I don't see why the NBA would ban it, but I think After doing a little research, I read this NBC Sports article that stated that it's probably because Nike wanted to be able to profit off of it. And Nike, in my opinion, I think Nike's already profited off of it. I worked at basketball camp a couple weeks ago, and a bunch of these kids were walking around with Nike Ninja headbands. It didn't even have to be the Nike signs that were on these NBA players, because it wasn't on the headbands when they were doing it. But the fact that people went out and saw that Nike sold them, so they went out and bought it, I don't have any problem with it at all. A lot of women's basketball players do it. It's very popular in women's basketball because it's a very similar headband to what like a woman would wear. Skylar Diggins posted a photo on Instagram showing how she's been doing it for years, wearing that type of headband. So I don't understand. I hope that they can get this resolved quickly. They say it's about the player's safety, and they have to review the size, length, and how they're tied. So obviously those safety concerns are important, but I think they should just be able to figure it out soon, so everyone can get back to playing the game of basketball and not have to worry about going out there and worrying about, oh, is my headband long enough? Is it this? Is it that? No, come on. It's time to just go play basketball at that point, So I hope that they can get this resolved soon and players can go back to wearing whatever makes them feel the best and most comfortable and the most confident on the court. So hopefully that gets resolved. Okay, that's all I have for you today. I thank you for listening. I'm looking forward to these next couple of rounds of the FIBA World Cup. NBA season is soon on the way. I know a lot of you went out and bought NBA 2K. I haven't been impressed so far. If you want me to talk about that, please let me know in the comments. I thank you for listening. Please subscribe if you want to. Turn on notifications, and that's it.